Welcome to the podcast, folks. Let's talk about HELOCs, home equity lines of credit, and how you can use them wisely to help build your American dream.
Absolutely. Nothing like borrowing smartly to help cover costs like renovations, tuition, or even an emergency.
Right, so here's the lowdown. A HELOC is essentially a revolving line of credit that's secured by your home.
Yeah.
It acts kind of like the credit card cousin, but with some serious differences.
I get that. It's like you have an available credit limit based on your home's equity. So, unlike unsecured credit cards, your interest rates tend to be lower since it's collateralized by your house, right?
Exactly. And that collateral means your funds can be substantial, tens of thousands sometimes, while also offering you flexibility during what they call the draw period, which is usually about 10
Yes.
years. During that time, you make interest-only payments on what you actually spend, which can be a smart way to manage cash flow.
Right? But then there's the repayment period. That's when you have to start paying back the principal all at once, or through a structured plan. It feels like the catch in an otherwise appealing offer.
Exactly. And that's why the guide emphasizes planning ahead. If you only pay interest during the draw phase, you might face a big
Yeah.
balloon payment later. It's like you wouldn't want to buy a car and then surprise yourself with all the remaining amount due unexpectedly.
Right? It's a bit like having a delicious dessert that turns out to be super filling afterwards. You gotta plan for the aftermath.
True. And speaking of planning, the guide really lays out some do's and don'ts. For instance, it says do calculate your estimated equity properly before applying, and do make both interest and principal payments during the draw
Yeah?
period. That way, you're not left scrambling during the repayment period.
Now here's something that makes me pause. The recommendation to basically avoid spending the entire available balance at once seems like common sense. But some might argue that you can use all that power in an emergency. Don't you think there are scenarios where maxing out might be okay?
Sure, I see your point, but here's a respectful challenge. Maxing out can severely impact your credit utilization, and if your situation takes a hit, you're in deep.
I get
It's
it.
kind of like using an umbrella on a rainy day. You only need enough to stay dry, not to soak up every drop.
Right. And then there's the whole document gathering for the application process. They mention needing details like social security numbers, property value, mortgage info, and so on. That thoroughness can be a bit daunting, huh?
Yeah, it can be overwhelming if you're not prepared, but once everything's in order, the process takes around 3 weeks
Yep.
typically. And for existing members with an ICCU mortgage, it might be even faster.
And don't forget, if a HELOC isn't ever tapped, you don't owe anything extra. No monthly fees beyond what your current bills demand.
Right on. It's interesting how the guide positions the HELOC as both a safeguard and a financial tool that must be used responsibly. It really pushes the
absolutely.
idea of using it only for essential or value-building purchases, not for frivolous spending.
Exactly, because defaulting on payments isn't just a slap on the wrist, it could risk your home. That's serious business.
Yep, and that's why the guide also offers alternatives like refinancing or modifications if times get rough. It's a balanced view. Use the tool for growth, but always have a backup plan.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, whether you're funding renovations, consolidating debt, or even covering college tuition, this HELOC guide really gives you a roadmap to stay on track.
Absolutely. It's a smart deep dive that reminds us, plan carefully, use credit responsibly, and always be mindful of what's at risk. Your home, after all.
Right. Well, that wraps it up nicely. Wise words for any homeowner. Thanks for the great insights on managing equity.